Welcome to the Gyrl Podcast, the show that brings you inspiring guests who share practical tips and the highs and lows of their business, entrepreneurial, and personal journeys. We are more than a podcast. We are a supportive community where women can come together to learn, share, connect, and uncover our ultimate glow-ups. I'm Gyrl Lewis, your host, and thank you all for joining. How's everyone doing today? Happy Thursday. Also, Friday Junior. Well, I hope everyone is having a fantastic week. Let's see. Today, I have a fantastic guest who will be joining us, and also a topic that I think will resonate with this audience because I think we all want to know how we can create habits. We are still early in the year, so it is we're in March now. So it's still pretty early in the year, and we are still in a place of Q1. So you're still maybe figuring out those goals or intentions that you've set for the year and figuring out how you want to make those things happen. And so, of course, we know that you have to almost create, consistency or a routine in order to get there. So today, my guest is going to help us talk about, we're going to talk about the truth about habits and how to create, good habits for ourselves. All right. So Lesley Logan will be joining me in a few minutes. She is the Chief Visionary Officer for onlinepilatesclasses.com and Profitable Pilates. That's a mouthful. Lesley is the founder and the CVO, as I just mentioned. Onlinepilatesclasses.com is the largest catalog of free Pilates tutorials and the only on-demand platform that helps Pilates lovers of all levels have accountability and community. Lesley has been teaching since 2008 and was trained by one of Joseph Pilates' clients, making her a second-generation instructor. She has trained thousands of people around the world and hundreds of teachers. She helps women ditch perfection, take messy action, and prioritize themselves first so they can do life better. So stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back with Lesley. Welcome back to the Gyrl Podcast. I'm Kyra, and thank you all for joining. All right, let's welcome Lesley into the podcast. Welcome, Lesley.
Kyra, thank you so much for having me on. This is going to be so much fun.
Yes. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to start out by having you tell the audience listening or watching out there who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you. So I am a Pilates instructor. I'm second generation, which doesn't mean my mom taught. It means my teacher was taught by Joseph Pilates. So very interesting industry and weird way to say what your lineage is as far as who trained you. And I have been doing this for 15 years now. And one of the other things I do with it is I actually help other Pilates instructors grow their business because as a young instructor, I actually grew mine really easily in 2008 when other people were having problems. And I saw some of my favorite, best instructors not doing the same thing, and I wanted to help them. And so here we are, 15 years after starting teaching, and I have an on-demand platform for people to do Pilates. And then I coach instructors on how to grow their business.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I just want to commend you because I love when people are pouring into other people. I mean, just the fact that you want to help someone else grow their business is so important because, it just shows that, there is room for all of us. Everybody can win.
Yeah, it's true. And also, I never thought that that'd be something I'm doing. I just saw it really hurt me to see how many people wanted to teach and they were struggling to make a living. And I hated hearing there's no money in Pilates. There's no money in Pilates. And I'm like, but then on the other hand, people are saying Pilates is so expensive. So how can it be expensive and no money in it? I'm not really sure how those two things work out. And so I had to figure that out. And then it just became something I wanted to help people with because it meant more people would get the experience I felt. And I fell in love with how Pilates changed my body. And I don't mean that in an aesthetic way. I mean in an internal mind-body connection way. Mm-hmm. And I wanted other people to feel that. So it was kind of selfish in that I knew I couldn't teach everybody. And I wanted everyone to feel the way I was feeling.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Let me ask you a question as far as you getting into more of a sort of like being a coach essentially to these business owners. So when you decided and you said, I think I want to do this, because a lot of people out there, we have a lot of people who are listening and watching who are coaches, who might want to be coaches. What did you do? Like, how did you get started?
Yeah, I think it's really great because also I will say when that happened, when I started coaching people, I had a corporate Pilates gig, which you wouldn't think exists, but it does. I worked
Mhm.
for a high-end fitness company and I was inside their gym teaching people Pilates. And so I was doing this sort of business coaching on the side. And so how I got started was I actually started with where the people knew and trusted me. So I actually started teaching workshops on how to get first-time clients to buy a package within the company I worked for. So you guys can,
Mm.
if you work for a company, don't think that like, oh, I got to leave this company. I actually grew within the company and I was being sent around to different studios and different gyms and doing different calls for the actual company I worked for, which allowed me to get, first of all, work on the presentation on the job, but then also those people who came to that workshop worked for other studios and they told their studio owners who then hired me. And you guys, you could have hired me for $100 back then. Like I was like, you want to hire me? Like, so I really just started with a workshop, not one-to-one, just like these mini workshops on one topic. And I just kept presenting the same topic over and over again. And I think that's really key because a lot of people want to have 17 different products because they see all these different
Mhm.
huge coaches, Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, Lewis Hamilton, they
Mhm.
have all these products. And the reality is if you can get known for one thing, then you can have those other products. And so I got known for helping people convert first time clients. And then from there, I started teaching on how to actually set your rates and raise your rates because
Mhm.
a lot of people don't know how to pick rates for that. So it kept going from there. But the first thing was workshops. And then from those workshops, I had people go, hey, I have this problem. Can you help me with this problem? And then I
Mhm.
started doing one-on-one offerings. From that, it really was I was having a hard time with time management because Pilates is a service-based business where I
Mhm.
teach for a set period of time. So coaching, also same thing. And so I actually had to figure out a way to reach more people in the same amount or less time. And that's where I wrote my book and then I started a coaching group where people could come in and that allowed me
Mhm.
to help more people at a price point that they could afford and also wasn't time for money for me. So that's kind of how I got started
Mhm.
to where I am now.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Because it's like you sort of went through all different phases, right? Within, and you tried different things, which is what I always tell people like, don't be afraid to try different things and pivot where you need to pivot. But I love the idea that you started inside of the business that you were in, because I think a lot of people do often feel like if you aspire to be like an entrepreneur or to be on your own, that it means that you can't get clients in the corporate space. And I've heard a lot of people who say, oh no, I actually started getting clients within, like other like customers or, other clients that we had. And that's why I got my start. And then I just took a small project. And then a lot of times too, because I'm like, a lot of times too, like if you're in the corporate space, like just say if you're like I don't know, like you're a consultant, like a marketing person or a sales consultant, business, whatever. I mean, sometimes if you want to leave, I mean, there might be opportunities inside of the business if you say, well, actually, I want to step away and do my own thing. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're cutting down on like their insurance fees and some of those more administrative fees, and they're just paying you like, paying you direct on a project basis.
Yeah. And also you can't, not every corporation is going to create new jobs for you, but like
Yeah.
probably if I had wanted to, I probably could be like, here's a job I want to have for you guys. Here's how it's going to make you money. Here's how it's going to affect things. And like, this is how I want to do it. Having had the proof of the one workshop I was doing. So like,
Mhm.
I probably could have, if that was my goal. But I do think we're so quick to, I got to go work for myself. And like, not everyone's cut out to work for themselves. Health
Mhm.
insurance is a real thing in this country. sometimes
Yeah.
I, sometimes I miss it. but like, um, but I think it's so easy to cut our nose to spite our face and go, well, actually, like the people in that company trusted me and they saw the work that I did. So I didn't have to sell
Mhm.
them on the workshop because they saw how good I was at the thing I wanted to teach on. Whereas it was actually harder for me to sell it to outside places because they didn't know me. They were scared of like what that would do to their business. And so I had to build trust up somewhere. And it's easier to build trust where you like from a place where you already have it and get known and get those testimonials and get that. So I highly recommend like try it where you're at. And also it's less risky. I was able to test and see if I liked the idea. I think too often people are like, I have to get my lead magnet together and I have to get my coaching service is going to be, I have to have a group and I have to have a small and I have a one-on-one. Just try it out because you actually might not like what you created. And if you spent all this time and money, you're like stuck with this funnel you made. And I was able to kind of like test the waters out for several years before I had to make it organized.
Yes, thank you. Because I love a good test and learn moment. It's like, just test it, see if it works. Because like you said, I mean, a lot of effort and time goes into planning. And if, you may not want to do group coaching or you may not want to do one-on-one, you may only love doing group coaching. So it's like, just try one thing. And it goes back to what you said earlier. It's like when we try to have so many products, so many offerings, like let's start with something basic of what your target customer is in need of. Like start there and then try that. And then of course, if it grows and you're like, oh, I have the capacity to do more, to take on something else. But I think, we do just sort of live in this space now where it feels like you have to have a lot of things. Like you got to just throw a lot of stuff at people all the time.
Yes, I know. And like, and you, because they're looking at other people's sites and they're like, okay, I've got to have this. And yes, you can use that as market research. It can be really informative, but you don't know if they're profitable. You don't even know if they're happy. So like, you really have to figure out what makes you happy first, because especially when you work for yourself, there are not every day is shiny and unicorn. Before we hit record, I was like, it's Friday. Yes, I work for myself. Like I could take a day off anytime I want if I really wanted to. Like I could just make it happen. But like, there are going to be days where they just feel like work, and so you have to love what you do so that on those days, you can get through it. Otherwise, you're going to create something that's not authentic to you and out of integrity. And then you're going to feel stuck doing it.
Yes. Lesley's dropping the nuggets, y'all. All right. So let's talk Pilates.
Yeah.
So, how do people, because a lot of people, of course, right? Pilates was like the thing. Everybody was going to be doing Pilates, but how do people know, like, if it's the right workout for them?
Yeah. I love this question. So Pilates also like every other year has its moment where it's getting trendy. And like, at the time we're recording this, like, Miley Cyrus was just on stage showing off how strong she is. And my friend is her teacher. So like, I know the workout that she does and I know how long she's been doing it. And I know how many days a week she does it. So like, and I also know that not every one of us will look like that. I don't look like that and I teach it. So like, so Pilates, how do you know it's right for you? You have to think of Pilates like any other fitness regimen that's out there. There are multiple different styles of weight training. There are multiple different styles of yoga. There are multiple different styles of Pilates. So when you try Pilates out for yourself, first of all, don't just give it one shot. If you hate it, like it might be the teacher or the type of class you went to. So certain things I like to tell people is it is easy to just Google and pick the place that's going to have like 2 weeks free or some sort of ridiculous intro rate. And you're most likely going to get some sort of like corporate deal. And that's not to say that the teachers aren't great. There could be some really great teachers there. But what I highly recommend you do is do a search of all the different people that are in your area and find the words you're looking for are comprehensively trained, or they've done 450 more hours of training. You want those kinds of teachers, and here's why. Every single one of us has a different body and a different need. And even if you're in a group class, you want someone who's had to study for 9 months to a year before they can teach you. You don't want someone who got trained in a weekend. And that happens all the time. Because Pilates is growing so much, because Pilates instructors don't grow on trees, a lot of places have tried to figure out shortcuts where someone is just trained on one type of equipment and then they come take that class. The problem is they don't know how to help you if you can't do that exercise yet because they don't have the other tools. So you're looking for someone who's comprehensively trained. How do you know it's right for you? Unless you, it is for everybody. Joseph Pilates was a man who designed it for men. And that's not to say that it wasn't thought about for women. But back in the 1930s, you guys, women weren't allowed to work out. They weren't thinking about working out. Most people didn't work out. And even up until the 70s, they thought if we go in for a run, our uterus would fall out. So a lot of fitness regimens were designed for men. Now, what happened is that many dancers went there to be, in air quotes, fixed. And after his death, the dancers are what took his work out into the world. And so the reason why there's this it's not the best image. People go, oh, I want the Pilates body. And I think when you look at some of these celebrities, they would have that Pilates body. You have to understand that dancers have a type of body back then, and dancers were doing Pilates. That doesn't mean everyone's going to walk out of a Pilates studio looking like that. Genetics, hormones, nutrition, diet are actually proven to be how your body is, but genetics and hormones and then nutrition. So you have to really understand that depending on those things, Pilates is going to enhance that. And Pilates is for you because it is meant for every single person to have a strength-based workout. What I love about it is that it balances your imbalances. It strengthens what's weak. It tightens what's loose. And it's going to work your whole body out in each workout. And for the busy person who's listening, I know everyone who's listening is trying to do something else while they're doing something else. You need to understand, you don't have time to do arm day, leg day. You don't have time to be sore. I don't want to be so sore I can't sit on the toilet. I hate that. So what Pilates does is it actually gives you all the benefits of strength training, but also with the benefits of flexibility. And you work your whole body out in each workout. And if you ever feel you're being spot trained, that's a sign that you're not in a comprehensively trained class, and you should find another teacher who's going to make sure your whole body is being worked out at the same time.
Interesting. I like that.
A lot of history there.
It was all good, but I have to say that the striking thing for me was if you run, your uterus might fall out. Just saying.
Crazy. They thought forever that if women worked out, we were going to grow hair on our chest and we wouldn't be fertile. It's just so many things about women's bodies they don't know. So It's a little infuriating, but it really is this great workout, and you can do it on the mat. That's where Joseph Pilates originally created things. And that's where I love to help people, is just have the accessibility of the mat. Now, if you have chronic pain or injuries, you might want to start on equipment first, and you might want to start with a private session to make sure that you know what your modifications are before you're in a group class. But a lot of people think you need to have the reformer, and everyone's like, oh, I do reformer Pilates. There's no such thing. There's Pilates, and sometimes there's Pilates on a reformer, and sometimes it uses a chair, and sometimes it uses the mat. But they're all part of one umbrella, but exercise of called Pilates. And so equipment is there in case you need it. And then the mat, though, is the most accessible way because you just need room on your floor to lay down. You don't have to have these expensive pieces of equipment.
Okay, so what do you say to people who might be listening or watching and saying, well, is it expensive? Can I afford to go to Pilates?
Yeah, I love this question, and I think it's really important to chat about it. In every type of workout regimen, you can find a wide range of prices. So anytime something is one-on-one, yes, it's going to be expensive. You're paying for someone's time for that hour. So if you are unable to afford private or at least long-term, there are always class options with Pilates. And the way I teach Pilates is really to help my clients be independent of me. When you went to Joseph Pilates Studio, you actually took 5 privates, and then you came in on your own. You didn't even schedule. You would just walk in, put the money on the counter, and you do your own workout, just like a gym, just like you check in at the gym. And so if where you're going or where the places you've looked at are out of your price range, or they require you to always be under what they're doing, then that can be expensive. And I would say look at other places. But there is free, because there's YouTube. I'm on it, and I've got free classes for beginners. You can do that. There's other people, if you don't like me, that have free there. So there's free, even on equipment. So I even have free equipment classes on there if you happen to find a reformer, at a yard sale and someone gave it to you. There's free. And then the reason why classes for Pilates are any more expensive than your gym or yoga classes is because you can only fit so many pieces of equipment in a room. So Pilates equipment is about $4,500 a reformer, sometimes $3,500. So if you think about it, if you look at a room with 10 reformers, that's 40 something, that's $50,000. So obviously they have to pay the instructor, and they're limited. They can only have as many people in that class as piece of equipment. Whereas in a gym, I can buy a bunch of dumbbells and have 30 people in a room. So that's why those places can be more affordable than Pilates. But I would actually say that you're getting more quality and more attention in a Pilates class because there's fewer people. It just so happens that that might be more expensive than you can afford. So what I would say is the mat you can do on your own at your home with YouTube. And so there's always a range, and I would not let money stop you. If the place where you're going to is out of your price range, let's keep searching. There's always going to be someone who's in your price range offering you great quality Pilates.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I love this. First of all, because you gave us a tiered approach. So, so thank you. But also what I think is important is something I always go back to. It's like investing in yourself. And, we can look at the ways, yes, I know life is lifing and where that life is expensive. It's expensive to breathe these days.
Yeah.
I get it. But
I mean, there's breath work now, right? So you can go pay to breathe.
Nice. But, but with anything that you would spend your money on that you enjoy doing, you're making it, you're choosing to invest in it. And I think it's important to invest in our wellness. I've tried Pilates a few times. I think that I've been frightened because I won't do it again. Because I think I've been frightened just because I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm not that flexible anymore. And excuse me. And I think, when you were just talking about it, it's like, I could stand to do that again because I do really light strength, workouts. I like the combination of really light strength more than the cardio stuff, because I don't know, it's just something about leaving and you feel yeah, I did that.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
And I think, oh, go ahead.
No, you keep going.
I was just going to say, I just think I think it's just important to just remember that, your health is, and your wellness is important. And if you want to do this, I think Lesley has given us a lot of great options here. So even if you wanted to start with her and the free classes that she provides on YouTube, you can start there. And then maybe it is building up confidence, because I know a lot of times it's when we don't know how to do something or something doesn't feel right, then we just stop and we don't do it.
That's an amazing insight, Kara. And that's true. If you're oh my God, I'm embarrassed, so I won't go to the class because I don't want to be the one who doesn't know. Hey, you can go home until you feel confident. I think also to touch on your point on cardio, ladies listening, stop doing the cardio as much as you are. It is not getting you the goals you want, is not strengthening your bones. And menopause is coming for us all. No one gets to escape it. And if you are a cardio junkie, it's worse for you. You want to be as strong as possible when you go into menopause. And so you want to do strength-based stuff. And then lastly, I want to touch on that investing in yourself. You guys, being sick and being in pain costs you money. There are tons of studies that show that when you are sick, you do less work. You're less likely to go after what you want to do. You make less money. And it costs a ton to be sick in this country or in any country. It just costs money. So when you think about your longevity, and even if you don't think you'll live to 100, everyone's living a little bit longer. So the longevity we have, I want to be able to get up and down off the ground without help. That is actually proof that you'll live 20 years longer than someone who needs help. And so Pilates is something that actually benefits your longevity in your life because it balances those imbalances. So if you felt uncomfortable or you went to a class and you're just this is the weirdest thing I've ever done, go find another class. Go find a class and you find a teacher that resonates with you. I am not everyone's cup of tea, but I am a lot of people's cup of tea because I'm for you to be let's just laugh at ourselves and make a mistake. I follow the exercise all the time. Let's try again. And it is a practice. It's not a perfect. And so you want to find a place where you get to be imperfect.
Ooh, I like that. Lots of good things in there. But one thing that I want to do as I transition to another topic that you're going to provide us some insight on, it is, first of all, when you start a routine, right? You want to start a workout. If you are someone who's saying, I'm in, I hear you, Lesley, girl, I'm going to do it. That means you need to create a routine, also known as a habit, right? That you have to keep doing that. And one of the things that I would say, and I think that you would say this as well, and I'm going to ask you this question, is that when you decide to put something in front of you that you say, I'm going to do this all the time, I'm going to create a habit, it's going to be a routine. That means, number one, we have to do what? Prioritize ourselves. That means you have to become a priority in your everyday or however when you choose to walk this path. So I'm going to ask you first, because as women, right, we don't always prioritize ourselves.
No.
Did you, Lesley, did you always prioritize yourself? And then if you didn't, how are you doing that today?
Yeah. So no, I did not. I was not born prioritizing myself first, and it was not modeled for me to prioritize myself first. And so I say that because if you are someone who struggles with it, I bet you it wasn't modeled for you either.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because women are supposed to be all the things to all the people all the time. And don't ever let anyone know it was hard. Do it with a smile on your face and like your makeup's perfect. It's not a wrinkle. No, I found out the hard way that I didn't prioritize myself first because I was what a doctor told me on the road to being a skinny diabetic. Because I wasn't making sure my nutrition was on point. I was not even sometimes eating for hours of the day, like wait till dinner, and like all these things. And so my body started showing signs of neglect and started getting really sick. I was having a lot of injuries. And I had like a hard wake up call that if I actually wanted to have all the things I wanted to have in this world, I had to have energy and a body that could keep up with me. So how I started that is small. You've got to start small. And so the way habits are built is not by all or nothing, no pain, no gain. It's about figuring out, okay, who do I want to be? Like, how do I want to be that person? What does that person do? What does a day in that life look like? And then going as small as possible. So if I'm someone who wakes up in the morning and goes for a walk, and I've never done that before, you cannot just, you might do it on day one because motivation is high, but day 2 and 3, it's not going to happen. And oftentimes you're going to go and walk too far and be so sore the next day, you can't do it. So it's better to walk around the block. And then when that gets easier, you walk around 2 blocks and then eventually 3 blocks. But the habit is walk around 1 block. Just walk around 1 block. And if that's too much, then the habit is that you're going to put your walking shoes on. And then the most important thing is you have to celebrate what you did do. So there's no room for being a perfectionist and building habits in the life you want and prioritizing yourself. It's actually all about celebrating what you did do or if you thought about doing it. So if you woke up, got ready for work, left the house, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't walk around the block. If you shame yourself, you will actually not create a habit. That is the first way to make sure a habit doesn't stick. But so you go, oh, I thought about walking around the block. I'm so good. I'm so amazed at myself. And you pat yourself on the back. And then the other thing about habits is this, putting yourself first in the morning, if that is easy for you, great. I find that to be the best way to do it because when the rest of the day comes on, it becomes harder and harder for me to make time for myself. But that being said, if that isn't an option, you've got kids, you've got chaos going on, then truly, you got to figure out another time that works for you. And maybe the habit of walking is not in the morning. Maybe it's on your lunch break. Like you have to be in experimental mode and just keep asking yourself, is this working for me? Is this helping me? Is this getting where I want? And so just because you said you were going to do it doesn't mean you can't change how that was if it's not working for you.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that because I think so many times, and I've been guilty of it too, is that you feel like, oh, because I've made this plan, like, oh, I have to stick to it. I have to do it this way. And if I don't do it this way, then it's not real. But it's just, we have to just be really open to like being able to change, like a pivoting. But I also really like that you said, if you don't walk that day and you left the house because you had a lot going on, but you thought about it, I think there is something magical in that moment of just even acknowledging that you didn't forget it. Like, because a lot of times that's what happens. People are like, because I'm used to working out because that's usually the thing. I'm going to work out. I'm going to be active. And then, like you said, it's like the first day they're like all up and at it and like crack of the dawn. The sun hasn't risen yet. They're working out. Then day 2, and it's like, oh no, I mean, I'm tired. I mean, I'm so tired from yesterday. And then day 3, it's like, I mean, I don't know, maybe working out in the morning isn't really the right thing for me. I do it when I come home, and then it just never gets done at that point.
It's so true. And also, like, I had the pleasure of being someone who reminded me that 30 minutes is 2% of your day. 2%, 30 minutes. So if you can't dedicate 30 minutes, it doesn't mean you dedicate it all at once, but 30 minutes to throughout your day to you, we got a problem because
Yeah.
it's only 2%. So
Yeah.
there's like so many other things. Like what's also interesting to me about prioritizing yourself is that whenever I talk about how to do it, is the thing people tune out on. Even though they know they need to, they don't want to hear it because they don't want to face the facts that they're not doing it.
Yeah.
But y'all, people that you aspire, the people who are like doing the thing that you wish you were doing, I bet you the ones that are the top of the industry you want to be in, they all have a self-care routine. They all do. RBG, right? When I heard that she had a trainer and she worked with this trainer for an hour every single day, like I was like, yeah, the Supreme Court justice who's making sure that some of our rights are taken care of. She is literally got the weight of the country on her shoulders for laws, and she is going to the gym. So like, come on, you got to make time for yourself.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. So, but how would you, what would you say to somebody? Because there might be a woman listening right now and is hearing this and saying, I hear you, Lesley. I really want to, but how do I do? Like, what do I do? How do I? Because I think a lot of times, right? Sometimes when women, like you said, we've been sort of trained or we've grown up with this, like everybody else comes before us and we have to do all things for all people. And then there's a level of like guilt that is attached to when we choose to prioritize ourselves. So what are your thoughts on that?
And also worse, the friends around you might even make you feel shame, right? There's like wellness shaming. That's real. It happens in the workplace. It happens with your family. Like I've had family members we're traveling and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go for a run. They're like, oh yeah, it's so good of you that you get to run every day while we're all hanging out here. Like they just like this little slide past things. Like you're supposed to just sit on the couch with them all the time because they never see you. So here's what I would say to you. The fact that you're even considering taking time for yourself is a really great thing. And if you are being hard on yourself because you still haven't figured that out yet, that's not going to land you anywhere because the way the brain works, the brain actually only wants to feel good. And so when you feel shame and judgment and stress, it notices what that topic is and it will avoid that topic. So the fact that you are thinking about prioritizing yourself, you got to make that a happy celebratory thing so that your brain hears taking care of you is a good thing. Okay. That is going to help you create habits. The next thing is you got to do what you have. So because I think it can sound very privileged when it comes to take care of yourself, like make sure you work out an hour a day and like do all these things, meditate. Like if you are struggling paying your bills, taking care of the people around you, that an hour is too much and it's going to sound really hard. So what I would say is like, what if the first 5 minutes of the day were dedicated to you? Just the first 5. And that first 5, could you be laying in bed, just laying there going, I'm so glad I woke up. I have another day to do what I'm here to do. I'm amazing. Like it could just be a 5 minutes of affirmations. It doesn't actually have to be movement yet. It could just be for you. What's going to happen is when you are a happy person, when you give yourself that dopamine, those 5 minutes, you are actually going to realize that time expands. You have more time and energy for the things you ought to do that day. And what happens is the brain will start to seek out opportunities for you to feel good because like you'll start to notice that taking care of yourself feels good. And you're like, oh, look there's 5 minutes here. Oh, I have 10 minutes here. Oh, actually, I don't need an hour to sit at my desk and eat. I can take the first 15 minutes and walk around the block. And then I can take 15 minutes to eat my lunch. And I can take the rest of my lunch to sit and read self-development. I could listen to a podcast that makes me feel good. That's self-care too, guys. Right? So I think it's really about like taking care of what you have. Like, what can you do? Is it like, what can I do? What is possible? In my Pilates classes, we are constantly reminding people, if you can't do this exercise yet, what can you do? What can you do? And the more you're asking yourself, what is possible? What can I do right now? You are training your brain to seek out opportunities to take care of yourself. You are going to find so many more. But if you focus on what you can't do, I promise you, you'll never find any time to do anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. She'll just let that negative self-talk. It'll just be like, nope, you can't do it. Why try? So.
Oh yeah. And then you won't even be exactly where you are a year from now. You'll be further behind because the energy of the earth is going forward. And so, I think it's not easy to get started. So I also just need to say, like, turning on your car, a plane taking off into the air. All those things require more energy than keeping it running.
Mm-hmm.
So once a plane is in the air, it actually uses less gasoline than it takes to take off. So the same goes for you. Getting started is hard. It's uncomfortable. It feels uncomfortable. You don't feel like you're the best at it. Allow yourself to be a beginner, because I bet you if you have kids, you'd let them be a beginner. We let little kids learn how to walk and we don't go, oh, you fell? You're terrible. You should never walk because you're not good at it. We don't do that. We cheer them on every time they walk.
Yeah.
They draw terrible things on pieces of the paper and we're like, don't go, not inside the lines. You suck, not an artist. No, we're like, look, wow, thank you for this art piece. Treat yourself like a toddler.
Yeah.
When it comes to doing things new, I bet you'll find more time and you'll create habits that will actually stick that you want to do.
I like that. I like that a lot. Thank you. Okay. So why should women, and you briefly mentioned perfection earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Why should we be ditching perfection? And also, I love this. You call it overachieverism. So why do we need to get rid of those things in our life?
Yeah. So I'm a recovering perfectionist and overachiever. And every single one of us needs to get rid of it, because the people who told you needed to do that are just trying to keep you so busy at being perfect that you can't actually do anything. And then they can do whatever they want. And I do think that perfectionism is holding so many women back, because if you are not putting out your amazingness in the world, you're not getting feedback. And then if you wait until the thing is perfect, either it never gets done, which means it never gets out there and changes anyone's lives. Or by the time it gets out there, you haven't had feedback along the way and it doesn't land, and then you feel like a failure. So perfectionism is really you just wanting to feel in control and you wanting to control how people hear things, feel things, experience things. But I promise you that when you let go of that and you try in little ways to be imperfect and laugh at yourself for making mistakes, you are going to go further faster. You're going to have everything you wanted. And you'll have more friends, because no one wants to be friends with perfect. It's not fun. It's pretty boring.
Exactly. True. All the things Lesley said. All right. Well, Lesley, that is a good note to transition into. How can people listening or watching connect to you, or how can they work with you?
Yeah. So if you are wanting to try out some Pilates that actually works for you, you can go to opc.me/glowup. So opc.me/glowup. It's going to take you to our free stuff. It's going to take you to ways you can do Pilates. We love newbies. We love beginners. We love people who make mistakes. So you can go there. If you are like, I'm not so sure yet, then you can just go to my Instagram account and you can do a little stalking, get a little comfortable. I've got links to our YouTube videos there that are free as well. So that is how you can engage with us. But I do hope that you let us show you how Pilates can help you ditch that perfection. Let us show you how it can help you create habits that stick. And let us help you remember about what's possible and what you can do. I would love to do that.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, we will make sure to put these links in the show notes as well. And thank you so much for creating something for this audience. Really appreciate that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. If you guys are going to let me talk into your ears and inspire you, I have to also let you be able to take action, because otherwise, what's the point?
All right. So we're going to transition into 3 things with Lesley now. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, helps the audience get to know you a little bit better. The first question is a 2-parter. It is, how do you start and how do you end the day?
So I start the day saying, today is going to be amazing. I do start the day like that, put my feet on the floor, say today's going to be amazing. And I actually take a walk outside as soon as I can. How I end the day is generally with a walk with my husband. We have 3 dogs, you guys, so they need walks. So, if you're struggling to get a walk in, get a dog, and you'll be surprised how easy it is to get the time for walks. So I actually start the end of the day with a walk, which I really like. And then the other thing that I do each day is I start the day sharing with my husband 3 things we're grateful for, 3 things that we're excited for, and 3 things we're manifesting. And we do that during the week, and it's a really special way to know what each other has got on their minds and what we're hoping happens.
Oh, I love that. Awesome. All right. The second question is, if you are a goal or intention setter, what's one thing you've set for yourself this year?
One of the things I set for myself this year is I am actually trying to be more intentional about hanging out with women in the town I live in. I moved here during the pandemic. And while I know a lot of people, I don't actually have like an intentional community. So I reached out to some women that also work for themselves. And I said, do you guys want to meet for coffee? And we're trying to do a monthly meetup. And that is an intention I have, is to like actually be in a community where I live.
Like it. Like it. And the last question is, what's a book, a podcast, a show, or anything that you are loving or is inspiring you in this moment?
Yeah. So I just had coffee with a girlfriend and I shouted this book out. It's my favorite book to recommend to people. It's by Gay Hendricks. It's called The Big Leap. And it is the greatest way to discover how you're holding yourself back and how to take action and also how to extend time. So it's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's been out for a while and I recommend it so much. I should just go buy 100 books and just start giving them out to people. But like, it's, I'm his biggest fan. He doesn't know it.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And before I let you go, first, I want to say thank you again for sharing your time and your knowledge with my audience today. And you can always come back here in the future.
Oh, thank you.
And I would like for you to leave the audience with 3 things you would like for them to take away from our conversation today.
Yes. So perfect is boring. Be kind to yourself. And just get started. Start with what you have.
Yes. Awesome. I love those. All very simple, easy things to do, but great reminders, because I think we always need a reminder to just be gentle with ourselves. All right. Well, Lesley, thank you again. It was so great having you on today. I wish you all the success and a very successful and joy-filled 2024.
Oh, thank you. You too, Kyra. This is amazing. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Gyrl Podcast. I want to thank Lesley for joining the show today and for all the really great insights on Pilates. I'm telling you all, I'm going to try Pilates again. I tried it once and I was that person I was fearful because I thought, my body can't do that. But I'm definitely, after this conversation with Lesley, I definitely feel like I can get back out there and try it again. So be sure you check out the website. Be sure you check out the special link for our Gyrl audience. You can grab those in the show notes. Also, if you want to learn more about Gyrl, you can visit our site at globegirl.com. You can listen to past podcast episodes, sign up for our email newsletter, grab our social links, resources, and so much more. If you're on a platform where you can leave us a review or rate the show, please do so. We'd love that. I love reading those reviews. And I thank you all for that. Also, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you head over to Glow Up Gyrl and subscribe. You can watch Lesley and I do this interview on your screens. And also you can become a part of our community there and comment and talk to us there as well. All right. And also, if you think this podcast or this episode is something that your friends, family, or coworkers would love, make sure you share, because sharing is caring after all, and you should not keep all this goodness to yourself. And lastly, if you are sharing any of our social media content, please make sure you tag us in it as well. Love to see that as well. All right. So that is it for today. Thank you all so much for joining me. Oh, my voice is giving out, right? Thanks so much for joining me. And thank you again to Lesley for joining the show as well. I will see you all next week. So until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.